Okay, folks, I have been hemming and hawing and hesitating to make this video, but I decided, what the heck, I'm going to go for it. So I am going to spell out my disappointments with President Donald J. Trump. How he let me down, how he let us down. The most important thing to me was an impression that a friend of mine on Fascist Book got. He was really upset because he felt like Trump had fingered us all of us conservatives, on the way out. And he didn't know how else to express it except in that old movie term of, we've been fingered. So he abandoned us in several ways. That's the way we felt. He didn't fight very well. Of course, there was no bigger traitor than Mike Pence, who really needs to be regarded historically for the treasonous, traitorous rat bastard to this nation he is. He failed to do his duty. His duty was to hand that election over to the Congress because it wasn't certifiable. It was so screwed up. And he let us all down. Now, my understanding is that they had too much on him. For one thing, I understand he's a gay man and he likes young boys. So all this malarkey about he won't have lunch with a woman one-on-one, the women are all safe from him. So he's just not right, and that's a problem. Other than that, we heard that his boy was on the front line in the war, and he had received a direct threat against his son's life, which, of course, in that case, paralyzes him. But let me get to the title of this. Is Trump a traitor? Is he a witting traitor or an unwitting traitor? What do you think? I'm going to say witting. And I'm going to say it because he stole in the name of the presidency and gave stolen property to another country. He robbed Peter to pay Paul. He had no business doing that. Now, as far as moving the capital of Israel to Jerusalem, and as far as putting our embassy in Jerusalem, moving it from Haifa, all right, I can let that slide. That could be up to him, his prerogative as president. But when it comes to taking away the Golan Heights, which belongs to Syria, and giving it to Israel, and they renamed it Trump Heights, all I can say is that the boy is an Israel firster. He's not an America firster. He puts Israel above this nation. That's what he did when he did that. And I would have to say Sheldon Adelson got his money worth out of his boy Trump, getting him elected. He got the capital moved, which he wanted, and he got Trump Heights. He got the land taken away from Syria, given to Israel. Now, what place does the President of the United States have taking land from another nation and giving it to basically not our best ally in the Middle East, but really our enemies? That's a problem. I also feel Trump did not live up to his word. Number one, he said he was going to release the Kennedy documents, and that was required by law on October 17th. Don't ask me what year it was. And he, at the behest of the CIA, resealed the documents in violation of the law which President Bush Sr. had put into effect years earlier. By law, he was required to open those records up, but instead, he helped cover up the crime. He became one of the many presidents it took to assassinate a president. I used to be able to say it took 6 presidents to assassinate one president. And we start with Eisenhower. He had knowledge before the fact on the assassination and did nothing about it. Then we have Lyndon Baines Johnson, who actually killed his own president, helped. It was ordered by the Israelis, by the prime minister, so Israel could get nukes. And there were all kinds of other people in on that wanting him dead as well. And then you ended up with Richard Nixon, who actually put the hit team together, the rifle people, which included a woman, by the way, and they went to Mexico to train up for years. Tricky Dick would refer to it as the Bay of Pigs. We don't want the public discovering about the Bay of Pigs. That was his way of hiding the fact he was talking about the Kennedy assassination, which he took part in. And then you had Gerald Ford, the last survivor of the Warren Whitewash Commission covering up the murder of JFK. Earl Warren was the head of the communist cell for the East Coast, and he oversaw that so that it would never get to the bottom of who it was that assassinated Kennedy. And there were others. At this point, I've lost track. I guess it's 8 presidents were involved in the killing and cover-up of the Kennedy assassination, and now it involves Donald Trump. He screwed up. He should have just let the records be released as it was set in law, written in law. Another thing he was a disappointment in is he was going to go for hearing protection. You know, I took my hearing aids out, but I mean, hearing should be protected. The ear is the seat of intelligence. There's no reason why people can't have suppressors without being taxed on them and made to think that they feel like they're damn criminals. He didn't do it. Matter of fact, when somebody used a homemade silencer, he decided he didn't like them. The same with the stupid-ass bump stocks. By executive order, he started a little tradition, which is getting carried away with Biden, setting up all kinds of administrative laws, and those laws should be done only by the legislatures. But he's doing it through administrative fiat. There were no bump stocks in Las Vegas, Donald Trump, and you know it. There wasn't one man doing all the shooting. There were shooting teams, and you know it. And not only that, there were several shooting teams, and they were professional shooters. They fired like clockwork. You could hear rounds, 4-round bursts, perfectly executed. One was up in a helicopter. One was up on the roof of one of the buildings. Another walked into one of the hotels and did his stuff, too. Come on, Donald Trump. You helped cover up the crime there. You helped the FBI cover up the crime in Las Vegas. And you want us to suffer and to lose our rights even further because you failed to do your duty and have a crime investigated? What kind of president are you? You fail to let justice be done. You're as bad as the rest of them. Not quite. But it feels like betrayal hurts. It hurts a lot. That wasn't all you did. You allowed the development of 2 types of technology that are deathly to people. You allowed, I can't talk about all this stuff, not here, but I will tell you that you allowed the use of advanced cell phone technology that is dangerous. And it was tested. It was known in 1974 by the United States Air Force as their most powerful weapon. And you mainstreamed that and mainlined it. You let them put that in the elementary schools even. That was a jackass move. Dumbass. Even in that little postage stamp of a country, Israel, they won't allow that stuff to be set up over there because they know better. But you just continued on with the tradition of silent weapons for silent wars, the genocide of the American people, the dumbing down, like happens with water fluoridation, drops the full-scale IQ points by 11 points. Been illegal in every nation in Europe for more than 2 decades to fluoridate the water. We still have it here. You didn't take care of that. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff you did. And you still endorse that bullshit. It's time you got on your knees and confessed your sins to the American public and told them about your screw-ups. Why should we trust you again? Now, I've said all that. The fact is, you're still the best we've got. That's the irony of it. You didn't get to even have a full first term. I think you ought to get 2 more terms, full terms. Screw those people that did that to us, to we the people, when we put our man in office, and they waged war against us by going after you so illegally. I didn't think it was all that good when you were president. It was okay. But my God, now that we got this jackass in office, we realized we had it really good. And one of the biggest letdowns was I figured you were going to bankrupt this country properly. Not take it to bankruptcy, but to exercise a proper bankruptcy and awarding compensation to the victims, which are all the American people, by this illicit corporate government that was designed to only administer to the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. Clearly, they've exceeded their authority. And they own all kinds of patents, all kinds of property, all kinds of lands. I don't think they should own it. Matter of fact, we can liquidate all that and pay off all the claims. Everybody that's been harmed by this government, especially by the illegal war against the people, using the high-tech companies as a front. And then those secret contracts with all the telecom communications networks, in which you're required to not let the people know that they're the ones doing the spying. Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, what's that other, Sprint, which is gone now. Look, they're the ones doing the spying on behalf of the federal government. So when are we going to get our Fourth Amendment rights? You know, this thing I'm talking into right here is nothing more than an electronic leash. Since you're using it against me, why the hell should I be paying for it? Why should I pay for the service? And why should I pay for the phone? There's no respect for privacy. We almost had that, but they had to pull Roe versus Wade away from us so that we wouldn't go into court saying, hey, here's the legal precedent. There's a right to privacy. And you stood there and let that NADA or whatever the hell it was, National Defense Authorization Act, and continuing the Patriot Act. What kind of jackass are you? Yeah, I wrote you a few letters. Didn't get any response except to thank you for the Bible, which you don't read, which you do not understand. Yahweh knows you, Donald Trump, but you don't know Yahweh yet. That's coming. So unless you're really going to be an America firster, I don't want you in office again. If you're going to put any nation ahead of this country, especially that little postage stamp of a nation that has caused us so much trouble, then I don't want you in office. And by the way, we know that all of Congress is guilty of treason as well. They all signed loyalty oaths to that little postage stamp of a country which should be called Rothschild land. You know, that country that Adolf Hitler was the father of? It's called Israel. It's not Israel proper. It's not the Israel of the Bible. It's a bunch of phonies, a bunch of identity thieves, a bunch of real bandits, a bunch of sociopaths. Don't get me wrong, I know there's a residue there that are okay. But that residue is not going to be defended for quite a bit. Not until the time comes. But here's the problem I have with you. You could have done better, and you didn't. You could have fought better, and you didn't. You appointed the worst jackasses in the world to those positions near you, and look at what they did. You can't tell me that was by accident and you didn't know any better. I really think you're in on it. And when you say America first, and of course you don't live up to it all, maybe what you mean by America first is first we take Manhattan. First, we take down America. That's what you might mean by that. I thought that you would at least give us honest money. You didn't do that. You left the bankers in charge. You didn't bring us any more justice. You sure took a lot of hits, I gotta say that. I think I'd rather have you than DeSantis, but mostly because DeSantis wants to make it a crime to fail to worship that sacred cow called the Holocaust. Do us all a favor and allow us to discuss those matters openly and debate those, and let us establish the facts and base whether or not we want to believe in that on the merits. There was so much good you could have done. You didn't get to do it. The nation was so much better respected when you were president. You seemed to be gifted. You seemed to be doing things. Of course, you were the great hope. You were the white hope. It was like that Navy we had that was all painted white. It stuck right out on the ocean. The great white hope. Oh, it's so nice to know that the FBI has finally identified the white supremacist. I knew it all along. I just didn't realize. I knew it was the Catholics, the white supremacists, the ones that go to the Latin Mass. I didn't know that. Wow. Imagine that. So they had us fooled all the time. So those are the most dangerous people in the country. And you allowed that stupid-ass FBI to do their stuff to you as well as the rest of the country. And you didn't even change the policy of response to a nuclear launch by our enemies. So it's still set up so they can nuke our asses first, and we have to wait a full day before we even assess it. It used to be launch on morning. The other son of a bitch launched his missiles. We launched ours. Barack Obama changed that. Why didn't you change it back? Why didn't you do that? So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Trump, are you a traitor? Are you guilty of treason? Have you put another nation before the interests of our nation? I know it's a tough act. It's a balancing act. I know all politicians lie. All presidents sure as hell lie. And I know that Barack set things up to take you down and actually to take the whole nation down. He's done such a good job that they're going to probably nuke us before you get a chance to go back in the White House. You were educated by the Jesuits, and that bothers me. I was educated by him as well. So I'm not so sure that you didn't go off and take those Jesuit blood oaths. Did you do that? Biden sure as hell did that. I think you did it too. Yeah, I think you're going to be president again. And you're going to break down while in office. As well you should. And you're going to get on your knees. And you're going to read my Bible. You're going to read the proper name version of the King James Bible. And you're going to be begging Yahweh to give you the insight as to know His will. And to give you the strength to be able to adhere to it, as rough as it is. To be able to hold the standards. Yeah, I think you're going to be our praying president. It's not going to be DeSantis, whatever. He's doing a pretty good job. He really is. He should stay governor a bit longer. So now that I brought all this attention to myself with this clickbait title, I need to hear from you. Oh, I know you've got better attorneys than I'll ever dream of having. So you can do whatever you want on that. I can't stop you. But you know, Yahweh has a way of getting at a guy. And He chose you. And He knows you. Do you know Him? Folks, that's all I got for you. That's my big question. Those are my letdown things. I realize a lot of you are going to say that I'm the traitorous, treasonous rat bastard right now because I won't worship another man. I won't worship President Trump. Why should I? It's not Yahweh. Wouldn't that be a sin? It's not Yahweh. Wouldn't I be violating the first commandment right away, as well as the rest of them too? Oh yeah. You wouldn't pardon Julian Assange. What the hell's wrong with you? What do they have on you that they can control you like that? I think that you ought to turn to Robert David Steele to revamp your CIA. He's got good ideas. I think you need to turn to a couple other gentlemen as well. Biney should be. He knows that he could ferret out all of the evil that's going on in this country. He needs a little crew in about 10 days. Got all the data. They'll track every one of those evil bastards down and reveal them. Why didn't you do that? And you had the perfect general working for you. And I don't think you did enough to protect him. And then of all the damn things, you appoint swamp rats, swamp creatures, to sensitive positions when you know what they are. And you work with the weirdest dudes ever? Paul the Rat Ryan? Ew. Man. And then that first attorney general you appointed. Talk about a hopeless numbskull. They shouldn't even let him leave the house anymore. He really was way in over his head. He wasn't able to be attorney general. He could not function as attorney general. He made some terrible mistakes. Some of your Supreme Court justices haven't worked out real great. Certainly not all the time. It's pretty weird how the liberals get in there. And why didn't you get rid of that Patriot Act? Why didn't you give us back our privacy? Why didn't you go after those non-publishers, the big tech, Google, YouTube, Facebook, those tyrants? Because it was part of the government, and you didn't bother to tell the rest of us. No, I think you got to do a lot of explaining. That's all there is to it. You better start reading that Bible, and you better start praying to Yahweh, because he's going to break you with this next term. He's going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. Can you handle it? I don't think I could. I've already been humbled before. I already have strategic interventions for bringing this back. I already know the man to make vice president to change this country and bring it back around. But you're too busy making deals, compromising to go with the old standards and the proper rule of law. That's my sneaking hunch. So, what are you going to do about all this stuff? When are you going to have a heart-to-heart with the American people and admit what you did wrong? When are you going to actually take proper stands for change instead of allowing everything to be, so screwed up? Barack Obama beat you. That's all there is to it. What happened to 4D chess or 5D or whatever it was? What happened to that? Functional genius, stable genius. The rest of the world was really looking for you to take care of matters for the whole planet. They're all tired of this nation. And in case you're wondering, folks, and in case you're wondering, Mr. Trump, you are soon going to be dealing with a 6-front war. That's right. You've got 6 nations going after the United States of America. We'll talk at you later, folks. That's all I have for you tonight. May Yahweh bless the Republic. May Yahweh make America good. There's no way America is going to be great unless it's good first. And right now, America is no good. We're Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. And it says in the Bible exactly what happens to Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. Same thing that happened to Sodom and Gomorrah way back then. Yeah, folks. Good chance the nukes are coming. Excellent chance that the Department of Defense is going to put about, 8 balloons up over the nation and do a bunch of an EMP attack, coordinated by your Department of Defense, blamed upon the Chi-Coms. Who was it? General Milley said the Chinese aren't our enemies? General Milley, how would you know that? Oh, you are our enemy. It's like President Biden says the Chinese aren't our enemies. They're good people. How do you know that? Joe, how do you know that? Might it be because you're not good people and you are our real enemy? You are doing your best to finish the job Barack Obama started, and you're letting Barack Obama rule with you as a figurehead? And his whole goal is to destroy the nation. That's what George Soros wants him to do. And you're going to let him do it. I don't think that you can be stopped. You've already got everything set to exchange nukes over the Ukraine. When that happens, it's going to be the entire planet getting that stuff all over the place. It's going to be hell on earth, hellfire and brimstone. Yahweh bless, folks. May you bless Yahweh. This is show 111. I'm sticking my head up out of the trenches, head and neck. Might get it blown off. You know, the way I see it is somebody's got to talk about this stuff. There's so much evil in this nation today. We are a part of that beast system out of Babylon. We got a little touch of Pharaoh in us too. Yahweh bless. Good night.